I woke up in a book. Not just any book, but a trashy, melodramatic romance novel. And I was cast as the devoted, second lead schmuck who was destined to die. Before I could even process that, a woman with a face carved from ice slid a piece of paper across the table. Divorce papers. Sign it, Ethan, she said, her voice as cold as her expression. Aiden's back. We're done. Looking at her, I figured this had to be my new, temporary wife. And I had to admit, for a novel's female lead, she was a certified knockout. Tall, with curves that could cause a traffic pileup, and a haughty expression that was somehow made even more alluring by a small mole near the corner of her eye. I barely had a second to admire the view before my eyes landed on the alimony figure on the divorce agreement. It was the kind of number you normally only see on a lottery ticket. My brain hadn't even finished booting up, but my fingers had already grabbed the pen and scrawled my new name on the dotted line. Besides the divorce, my soon-to-be ex had mentioned a name. Aiden. Aiden Price. Sounded like the name of a B-list soap opera star. His parents must have really been gunning for a spot in the country club. This had to be her one that got away, the male lead of this whole circus. Well, hot damn. He comes back, and I get shown the door. You had to hand it to her. She was loyal to her man. While I didn't know my character's exact ending yet, judging by the usual formula for these kinds of stories, the second-string boyfriend doesn't usually ride off into the sunset. I needed to get as far away from this drama as humanly possible. Isabel Vance watched me sign my name with the fluid grace of a pro athlete. Her lips twitched, but in the end, she didn't say a word. Since it was still early, I grabbed the hand of my still-stunned wife and made a beeline for City Hall. The sooner I got that money, the sooner we got this divorce finalized, the better. Wouldn't want to hold up the epic romance of our two main characters. Unfortunately, we hit a snag at the clerk's office. There was a mandatory 30-day waiting period. Seriously, did this fictional world have to be so realistic? It's a novel, for God's sake. Couldn't we bend the rules? Oh well, for that kind of money, I could tolerate being married for another month. The silver lining was that my wife, ex-wife, wired the money to my account ahead of time. It wasn't until I saw her signature on the documents that I even learned her name, Isabel Vance. Walking out of City Hall, Isabel got a work call and left in a hurry. I didn't go back to our place. Instead, I found a hotel and checked in, collapsing onto the king-size bed to piece together the plot of the novel. In the original story, the second lead, me, was chosen by the heroine as a stand-in because he looked a little like the male lead. He fell madly in love with her. When the real hero returned, he was terrified of losing her and became a possessive, clingy mess. He even did something as idiotic as hiring thugs to kidnap the male lead. Naturally, the cops found out, and while trying to escape, he got into a car crash and kicked the bucket. I knew it. Anyone who gets in the way of the main couple in these stories meets a bad end. Thank God, I landed here in time to agree to the divorce. The alternative was unthinkable. A quick glance at my bank account balance online, and I breathed a long sigh of relief. Someone else could play the tragic fool. I was officially retired. Just as I was thinking that, my phone rang. The caller ID simply said, Isabel. What now? Did she have seller's remorse about the settlement? She couldn't possibly ask for it back. Look, for the sake of her generosity, I could probably spot her the $37. $12 currently in my wallet, but she shouldn't get greedy. I braced myself and answered the call from my sugar mama. Ethan, get your things out of the penthouse. I don't want Aiden to see them and get upset. Please. Like a guy with a net worth that now included a lot of zeros cared about a few random possessions. Just toss it all, I said, faking a wounded tone. I wouldn't want to be reminded of what we had, either. There was a pause on the other end. I don't have time to throw it out. Come get it. Now. She hung up. The nerve of that woman. We're getting divorced, and she still thinks she can order me around. Lady, that ship has sailed. When I got to the penthouse, I was surprised to see Isabel was still there. She was curled up on the couch in a chic lounge set, laptop balanced on her knees, completely absorbed in her work. Her long, pale legs were casually exposed, and the sight sent a jolt through me. Damn, so this was the power of a female lead. I guess I couldn't entirely blame the original guy for losing his mind. I swallowed hard. She didn't seem to have any intention of acknowledging me, so I wisely headed to the master bedroom to pack. I'll give her this. She was generous to the guy whose heart she was about to stomp on. A drawer full of high-end Swiss watches alone was worth a small fortune. Suddenly, coming back here didn't seem so bad. For a second, I almost wished I had more stuff to pack. Luckily, the original Ethan wasn't a big shopper, so packing was easy. I made 2 piles, one to keep, one to trash. Get it done in one trip, so the Ice Queen wouldn't have another reason to interrupt my glorious, free-flying future. Just as I was about to finish, I found a photo album tucked into the bottom of the lowest drawer. It was filled with pictures of the original Ethan and Isabel, along with some candid shots he'd taken of her. The guy really was head over heels. A shame all those years of devotion couldn't compete with the ghost of boyfriends past. I flipped through it for a second before tossing it onto the trash pile. But then a strange pang hit my chest. It felt like the original soul of this body was protesting, still attached to the album. Looks like you still can't let her go, huh? I thought. All right, fine. For the mountain of cash you've blessed me with, I'll do you this one solid. I'll find a nice, dramatic place to burn it for you later. I pulled the album out of the trash pile and set it aside. Such a simp. Simping gets you nowhere in the end. What a waste. I almost felt sorry for the poor guy. With everything packed up, I started hauling my boxes to the car I'd driven over. Just as I got to the curb, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the building's entrance. A man stepped out. He was about 6'1", handsome, with unnaturally fair skin and a slender build. How is he that pale? Did he bathe in foundation? I wondered, taking a closer look. His face was vaguely similar to mine, which confirmed my suspicion. He just had a more melancholic air about him, and he was a bit thinner. No wonder Isabel was still dressed to the nines at home. She was waiting for her lover boy. He saw me, his eyes scanning me up and down before lingering on my face for a moment. The light bulb of recognition seemed to go on. "You must be Ethan," he said with a practiced smile. "Isabel has told me about you. Thank you for taking care of her while I was away." Whoa, did that passive-aggressive, manipulative line really just come out of a man's mouth? That confirmed it. This was the male lead, Aiden Price. We were married. I shot back. "It's not called taking care of her. It's called partnership." Aiden's smile tightened. He looked visibly annoyed and was about to say something else when Isabel's voice cut through the air. "Aiden, what are you doing here?" She practically flew out the door and launched herself into his arms. "Is she training for the Olympics? I'm still standing right here, you know? An actual living, breathing person. You're still here?" Isabel asked, stating the obvious. Just leaving, I said. "Just wanted to give your new, old friend some parting advice as the guy who's been here." Isabel's face darkened, and even Aiden looked uncomfortable. "Do you have to be so sarcastic?" she snapped. "You knew from the very beginning that I've only ever loved Aiden." "Crystal clear. Loud and clear," I said. "But Isabel, technically, we aren't officially divorced yet. You might want to tone it down in public. 1, a scandal wouldn't be great for your company's image if the tabloids got a picture. And 2, let's try to maintain a little dignity here, for both our sakes." Isabel was speechless, clearly shocked that the normally docile man was speaking to her this way. "You're misunderstanding," Aiden chimed in, oozing faux sincerity. "Isabel and I just haven't seen each other in so long. We got a little carried away. I just got back in town, and a bunch of her old friends have thrown me a welcome home party. I wanted to surprise her, so I came over on my own. I hope we didn't make things awkward for you. You're already here. What's the point of asking now?" I rolled my eyes internally. "Of course not," Isabel cooed, melting against him. "I'm so happy you're here. Are you too physically incapable of standing on your own 2 feet? What a perfectly dysfunctional couple. I need to get out of there. Watching them was going to slow down my future lobster consumption. Why don't you join us?" Aiden offered as I started to leave. "We're all friends. It'll be fun. I think I'll pass. I'm allergic to bullshit," I said. "Besides, my definition of fun is probably a little different from yours." Without waiting to see their expressions, I tossed my last box in the car, jumped in, and peeled away from the curb. Damn it. Why did seeing the male lead make me lose my cool like that? I was supposed to be a background character now, an invisible man. "Sorry, dude," I thought, addressing the body's original owner. "I guess I got a little payback for you. First things first, after this divorce is final, I'm hitting a spa. All these Benjamins shouldn't just sit there getting cold in a bank account." Back at the hotel, I dumped my boxes on the floor and flopped onto the bed, trying to figure out my next move. Technically, I still had a job at Vance Corporation. I rarely went in, but that was another loose and I needed to tie up. Time to resign and get away from this nest of vipers for good. The night passed without incident. The next morning, I was jolted awake by my phone. It was the original Ethan's mom. I collected myself and answered. You rascal, you finally decided to pick up your phone. It's been ages since you and Isabel came by. Your father caught a huge base. Come over for dinner. The original Ethan came from a normal, middle-class family. His parents were both retired. His father, Frank, loved fishing more than anything. His mother, while not a fan of the hobby, tolerated it. After his marriage, because of Isabel's high society background, Ethan hadn't visited home much, and usually only when his mom insisted. Now that we were getting divorced, it was time to break the news. At the dinner table, my dad was sipping a cold beer, while my mom kept piling food onto my plate. Having been an orphan in my previous life, this simple warmth felt foreign and incredibly precious. How come Isabel didn't come with you? My mom asked cautiously. We're getting divorced. The words hung in the air. My mom froze, and my dad's beer bottle paused halfway to his lips. Something this big, and you didn't talk to us first? What happened? I've told you before, even after you're married, you have to woo a woman. You don't just throw in the towel over every little thing. Marriage takes work. Mom, Isabel has someone else. They're head over heels for each other. I'm just doing them a favor. Someone else? So she cheated? She was the one who proposed in the first place. How could she do something like that? You could call it cheating, I guess. Whatever it is, she doesn't love me, and I'm done pretending. This is for the best, for both of us, I said, popping a piece of fish into my mouth. And you have the appetite to eat. What else am I supposed to do? This isn't your generation, Mom. If it doesn't work, you leave. My mom was about to say more, but my dad stopped her. Let the kids handle their own business. We know how our son felt about that girl. He even let her get away with that rushed, tiny wedding. He wouldn't get a divorce unless it was the last resort. He turned to me. Since you're divorced, son, you should move back home. This will always be your safe harbor. Hearing my quiet, reserved father say something so heartfelt made my eyes burn, even though I was just an imposter in his son's body. I can't move back just yet, I said. I've still got some things to sort out over there. Once everything's settled, I'll take you both on a nice vacation. As much as I wanted to stay, I knew the author of this trashy novel. The divorce might be easy, but a clean break was probably going to be messy. It was better to keep my parents out of the inevitable fallout. After dinner, I chatted with them for a while longer before heading back. Sure enough, the storm I was expecting arrived the very next morning. A call from Isabel. Ethan, are you doing this on purpose? I was still half asleep, but her questions came flying at me like bullets. Apparently, news of our impending divorce had leaked online. Worse, it was accompanied by the pictures of her and Aiden embracing in front of the penthouse. Vance Corp was a major player in New York City, and Isabel's beauty had earned her the title of the city's Ice Queen CEO. Headlines about the beautiful CEO's marriage falling apart due to an affair were exactly the kind of gossip the internet lived for. Isabel, who had wanted to handle the divorce quietly, was now on the defensive. The scandal was already affecting Vance Corp's stock price. She was calling me now, which meant the family patriarchs were probably already breathing down her neck. I have no idea who leaked this, but it absolutely wasn't me, I said. Besides you, who else would be this pathetic? I was wondering why you agreed to the divorce so easily. This was your plan all along, wasn't it? A strategic retreat. I really underestimated you. If you think this is going to force me to stay with you, you could forget it. Before I could even get a word in, she hung up. This woman and her wild imagination. Underestimated you. I think you're overestimating that brain of yours. Don't get angry, I told myself, trying to calm down. But before I could, the narrative online shifted again. Hashtag Isabel Vance and boyfriend are childhood sweethearts. Hashtag the unloved one is a real homewrecker. So-called insiders started claiming that I had forced Isabel to marry me while Aiden was out of the country. They even pointed out that we never had a real wedding. Then came the really insane stuff. Rumors that I'd gotten her drunk and taken advantage of her, forcing her into a shotgun marriage. The public opinion flipped on a dime. I went from the wronged husband to the villain who broke up a pair of star-crossed lovers. Excuse me, does anyone have a brain? The author might be an idiot, but are the readers too? How could a regular guy like me possibly threaten the heiress to the Vance Corporation? The truth was, when Aiden's family moved abroad, Isabel didn't want to go with him, so they broke up. She didn't want to be forced into a strategic marriage with another corporate heir and lose her position as the successor to Vance Corp. So she chose a simple, easy-to-control suitor, me. I'll admit the original Ethan was punching way above his weight by pursuing her, but his love was genuine. He never did anything out of line. The online slander got worse. Soon, they dug up my identity, my history of chasing after her in college, and even my parents' information. The more I read, the angrier I got. If only this transmigration had come with some kind of magical power-up system, I'd drag this pair of idiots into their own personal hell. Fantasies aside, the person who starts a fire is the one who has to put it out. After calling my parents and reassuring them, I sent Isabel a text. Isabel, I don't know if you're behind this online smear campaign, but I'm texting to remind you of one thing. We are not officially divorced yet. If you let this character assassination continue, I don't mind making sure this divorce never happens. We could just stay married. As long as we are, you and your one that got away will always be the homewreckers, and your position at Vance Corp won't be very secure. Isabel didn't reply, but Aiden found me. We need to talk. We found a quiet corner in a coffee shop. I want you to leave, Isabel, and do it quickly, he said, getting straight to the point. Seriously? Do all main characters get their brains flushed down the toilet? I already signed the papers. In less than a month, I'd be gone with my money. Did they really need to pull this stunt? I think you're mistaken, I said, clinging to the hope that he might possess a shred of common sense. I've already agreed to the divorce. If it weren't for this online drama, the chances of us meeting again would be about the same as winning the Powerball. Who do you think leaked those stories? He asked. And there it was. My last glimmer of hope extinguished. There wasn't a single sane person in this entire novel. Can you tell me why? Do you have any idea how this is affecting me and my family? Think of it as an insurance policy, he said calmly. This way, Isabel has to divorce you, and she has to marry me. Even a saint has his limits. Did this guy really think he could just walk all over me? If my original plan was to avoid the main characters, that plan had just changed. I shot up from my seat and grabbed the collar of his shirt. For your stupid insurance policy, you don't care what happens to me or my family. You'll just let a mob of strangers harass us online. Ethan, what are you doing? Let go of him. Isabel came rushing out of nowhere and shoved me away. Of course, the female lead always shows up at the most dramatic moments. I can't believe you'd stoop this low, Ethan, she seethed. When threatening me didn't work, you decided to go after Aiden. At this point, I had zero interest left in this pathetic pair. Fine. You're both just great. I hope you don't regret this. I turned to leave. Isabel tried to grab me, but I spun back around and leaned in close to Aiden's ear. Don't think nobody knows about what you were up to while you were overseas, I whispered. If Isabel found out, do you think she'd still marry you? Without waiting for a reaction, I walked out. Leaving the coffee shop, I pulled out my phone and called Isabel's cousin, Julian Vance. I knew from the novel that Julian, from the second branch of the Vance family, had always been eyeing Isabel's CEO position, but never had an opportunity to make a move. I had something that I was sure would interest him. I never wanted to take it this far, but with the main characters being this brain-dead, it was clear they wouldn't leave me alone unless I fought back. We met at his exclusive, members-only club. I handed him a folder full of documents. Julian took it and began to read. It turned out that when Isabel first took over as CEO of Vance Corp, she was eager to prove herself and got swindled in a bad deal, losing a massive amount of money. In the end, her father had to secretly embezzle company funds to cover it up and bury the story. I really underestimated you, Julian said with a slow smile, looking up from the papers. You've been hiding in plain sight all these years. So what are your terms? You've seen the news. There's a lot of fake, damaging stuff about me online. I know the kind of power Vance Corp has. Even if I issue a clarification, it'll just get buried. I need you to fan the flames for me. It'll help you undermine Isabel at the same time. That's it. What about Aiden? You're not just going to let him walk. That's the next step. I need you to hire someone to dig up everything they can on Aiden's time abroad and give it to me. Even though I knew from the novel what a mess Aiden was, I had no proof. No one would believe me without it. Done, Julian said. I see no reason to refuse. It's a deal. He raised his glass, and we drank to it. Back at the hotel, I dug out the photo album I'd almost thrown away. I forced myself to recall every detail I could from the original plot, then wrote out the entire history of my relationship with Isabel, including everything that had happened recently. I posted it online, complete with photos. With Julian's resources pushing it, my story shot to the top of Twitter's trending topics. The narrative flipped instantly. A flood of trolls and genuine users poured into my comments to apologize. "I'm so sorry. We totally misunderstood you. So Aiden is the real homewrecker. The world of the rich is insane. This whole thing is a mess. The public already loves to hate the rich, and with a little expert guidance, the tide of public opinion became an uncontrollable tsunami. By the time Isabel realized what was happening and tried to suppress it, it was too late. As the online furor grew, Isabel lost her cool. She blew up my phone, but I ignored every call. It was their turn to sweat. I was out grabbing a bite to eat a few days later when Isabel cornered me. "Ethan, have you had enough? You'd better post a retraction on Twitter immediately, or you'll regret it. When you two were dragging my name through the mud online, you didn't seem too concerned about letting me off the hook. Now you're in a hurry. Too late. I told you. I wasn't the one who posted those stories." "Heh, Isabel, if you'd said that at the beginning, I might have believed you. But with Vance Corp's resources, you're telling me you couldn't find out who was behind it with a simple investigation? You knew, and you let it happen. I guess that's true love for you." She was still trying to threaten me. She really had no idea who she was dealing with. Isabel took a deep breath. "Name your price. How much money will it take for you to delete the post? That's all you want, right? Money? Or have you forgotten about your parents?" Hearing her so blatantly threaten my family, I lost any desire to be diplomatic. If we could have parted amicably before, that ship has sailed. The die is cast. There's no going back. You should probably focus on how you're going to explain all this to your board of directors. "Fine," she hissed. "I hope you don't regret this." She stormed off in a rage. I couldn't give her time to regroup. Who knows what she and Aiden might try to pull with my parents. I picked up my phone and called Julian. "It's time." Meanwhile, the online mob turned its attention to Vance Corp itself. Isabel and Aiden, trying to capitalize on the initial publicity, have been flaunting their love story all over social media. Vance Corp's PR team had been working overtime to spin a destined lovers narrative to downplay the whole affair angle. A few clear-headed users who questioned it were quickly drowned out by bots. Now that my story was out, the company was caught in the crossfire. Vance Corp had no choice but to call a press conference and announce Isabel's temporary suspension as CEO to stabilize the stock price. They planned to quietly reinstate her once the scandal blew over. But Julian wasn't about to let that happen. He immediately contacted the other major shareholders, called an emergency board meeting, and exposed her father's embezzlement from years ago. The board immediately called the police. Isabel's father was taken in for questioning. Her temporary leave became permanent, and Julian smoothly took his seat in the CEO's chair. I learned all of this while soaking in a luxurious bathtub at my hotel. Just then, my room door burst open, and Isabel stormed in. "Ethan, was this your doing?" "I don't know what you're talking about. If you don't have a reason to be here, please leave." "Stop playing dumb. You did all this because you don't want to divorce me." "Well, forget it. Even if I've lost my position at Vance Corp, I still have Aiden. He loves me. You could die alone. Ms. Vance, I think you're mistaken. Any love I might have had for you has been completely worn away. As for you barging into my bathroom and interrupting my bath, what's this about? Miss me already? You're disgusting. I never want to see you again for the rest of my life." Funny, I was thinking the same thing. I told you you'd regret messing with me. And even though you cheated first, I sincerely hope you two cheating scumbags get to spend the rest of your miserable lives together. You're locked in now. Isabel stared at me, helpless, and finally left in a fury. I let out a long breath as she left. "Patience, Isabel," I thought. "We're not done yet." The month passed quickly. Isabel and I finalized the divorce without a hitch. Perhaps my series of counterattacks had made her wary. After leaving City Hall, she didn't say a word to me and left with Aiden. I was more than happy to be left alone. Just then, Julian sent over the file on Aiden's time abroad. I opened it and was shocked. I knew he was a scumbag, but I didn't know he was this much of a train wreck. My original plan was to wait until they got married and then drop the bomb, but I decided to show a little mercy. Isabel should thank me for this. I leaked the information through a trusted tabloid journalist. It turned out Aiden had spent his years overseas living it up. He was a nightclub regular, constantly surrounded by women, and had even contracted several STDs. It was nothing like the story he'd spun about staying faithful to Isabel. He hadn't come back for her. He'd come back because his parents' business ventures had failed, leaving them drowning in debt. Isabel was his lifeline. The news caused another massive sensation. Aiden's carefully crafted image as the perfect, devoted first love was shattered for good. At the club, Julian and I raised our glasses in a toast. I hear Isabel caught something from him, too. She's become the laughingstock of her social circle. She even hired someone to break Aiden's legs and is currently being investigated by the police. The Vance family will never take her back now. I didn't say anything, just sipped my drink. It wasn't that I still had feelings for her. It was just a sense of melancholy. It never had to go this far. But once you decide to fight back, you have to see it through to the end. No loose ends. Later, Julian gave me another substantial payment for my help. I bought my parents a big house, and then I took them traveling around the world. Who knew when, or if, I'd ever get back to my own reality? Might as well enjoy this life while I had it. As for getting married again, I'd woken up inside a novel. Was I crazy? Weren't the Benjamins in my bank account lovely enough? At some point, Isabel somehow got my number and called, wanting to get back together. Unfortunately for her, I wasn't the lovesick fool she used to know. I shut her down immediately. As beautiful as she was, our recent encounters had completely erased any lingering affection the original Ethan's soul had left in me. I heard later that Isabel was released due to insufficient evidence for the assault charge. With no position at Vance Corp, she still had money but was essentially adrift, a fate worse than death for a workaholic like her. One night, while drinking at a bar, she was found by Aiden, who was now permanently disabled. I don't know what sweet nothings he whispered to her, but they got back together. A pair of toxic lovers, a true match made in hell. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Let the scumbags stay locked together forever.